Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. If you followed the instructions for this week, at this point you should have done the assignment and completed the assignment to connect to the database for the first time. You really want to make sure you get that finished before you move on with this particular video, or you're just going to get confused. And so, if you're having issues connecting, or you're having issues displaying the information that was supposed to come out of the database based upon the instructions, reach out to your instructor and make sure you get that down before really moving on. Because if you can't connect to a database, you cannot really do anything else when it comes to a database. Once you get that down and you understand it, once again, it's a lot of cutting and pasting. All right, in this particular video, what we're going to do is teach you, again, kind of some tools. We're going to, as we move on with this, in the next couple of videos for this week and the videos in the future weeks, it's going to be a lot of here's how you do this, here's how you do this. But a lot of it is really kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah, we'll get into inserts, we'll get into updates, we'll get into deletes, and then we'll get into a few other nuances here when it comes to database application programming. With that said, this particular video, we're going to get into combo boxes. One thing you're going to find that you do quite a bit of when you're doing database application programming is loading controls on your form, or even on your web-based form, once you get into web-based programming in future classes, that are dynamic, meaning you're going to, instead of hard coding information into a form, like in a combo box using the collection piece, we will go ahead and load it via a database, okay? And that's kind of what I want to show you, all right? I sit here and I giggle a little bit, and I'm going to share this with you in a video. You're probably going to wonder why. Where do I do these videos? Well, I try to find the most quiet spot I can actually do the videos without being interrupted. It's hard to do sometimes to find that. I cannot do them at school, so I usually do them at home. I'm sitting outside right now on my deck, and I don't know, I have squirrels kind of looking at me and making noises, and birds making noises, and the wind chimes might go off. So if you hear all of that, just become one with nature. Maybe it's a calming effect for you as you listen. But I always get a kick out of students always telling me they heard dogs barking in the background and this and that. So I'm sure you will hear things, but that's just part of the entertainment value of all these videos. I have a bird right now squawking pretty good in the background. I'm not sure you can hear that or not. Um, anyway, okay, let's move on. I completely digressed. So in this particular example, what we're going to do is, again, we have a combo box here, okay? In this combo box, what you should know from this point is I can go in here and actually add, a collection of strings, right? Here in my string collection, okay? And in doing so, then it would show up in the combo box when I actually ran this. This is considered static to me, meaning it needs intervention to be changed. What we want to do is actually make it dynamic, where it actually comes from the database. And based upon our users adding more to the database via different types of means, and we'll kind of play around with that in future weeks in this course, the combo boxes could change, okay? And so that's what this is all about. How can we load this combo box not through a property collection, but through an actual call to the database? All right, it's rather simple, and it's one of these things again where you a lot of cutting and pasting once you got to get into this. So how do we do it? Well, to actually do it, you're going to go on. Let me go back for a second. You're going to click on the form. See this form right here? Not the controls, but actually the little gray part of the form, and click on it, okay? And so on this form, it's going to take you to an event called form load. Our goal here is that upon the form actually being shown, when we run this, we wanted to actually have the combo box already loaded. So we were going to do this in an event called load. It's part of the form. So it's a form load event, okay? If you double click on the form, it will default to the load event, and it actually executes prior to the form being shown. Make sense? Okay. What are we going to do in here? Well, we're going to connect to our database. And as you'll see here, we kind of cut and pasted some of the things as you already have done before. We are going to deal with this data table in this situation, and I called it DTS students data table. Okay, we'll go ahead and open the database like we did before. This is pretty much cut and paste, same code, no updates at all to this. And then we come down to where we're actually going to load the combo box. Now, Microsoft and VB.NET, I should say, has a unique way of doing this, and it's not. I'm not actually thrilled with having to show it to you this way. I'd rather show it to you a little bit longer way, but you will learn that in other classes. The longer way would be this: that we would go do our select statement, get a result set, okay, from our dr source table, and we would loop through that result set, okay, and actually load the combo box. That's how it's supposed to work in most, and you'll see that in other languages. .NET, in its infinite wisdom, likes to, create shortcuts for us. There's the wind chimes for you. Likes to create shortcuts for us, and this is one of the things that's going to create the shortcut. It works really, really well. As a matter of fact, there's even a shortcut to this shortcut, but I don't really want to get into that. I kind of want to at least make sure you understand what's going on. And what's going on in this case here is we're going to do a select. Okay, so here's our SQL statement. Student ID, last name from students. We're going to pull the primary key and the last name. The last name will be from what the user is going to see, and the student ID is going to be an ID that the programmers are going to be using. And we'll get into that more again in future videos. What we're going to do is we're going to execute this. It's going to become part of our result set right here. And then what we're going to do that's unique to Microsoft, we're going to take that result set and move it to what's called a data table. This is an internal data table to Microsoft. It's all part of ADO.NET, and that's all you really need to know in this case. That to make this work, you take the result set and you're going to load it to this data table. This data table then, this right here, you see how this kind of works here? We're talking about the CPO students. This is the combo box. The dot value member is the student ID. The dot display member is the last name, and the data source is that data table. Now, what does this mean? This is the primary key. This is the users of our application will not see this. The display member is what they will see, and the DTS students is going to load. This little piece right here internally will actually loop through the result set and load each one of those instances, meaning each one of the rows that we want loaded into our combo box. Does that make sense? All right. So that's just how it works. It's literally cut and paste. If you tell it what the value member is, what the display member is, and so on. The value member, again, is sort of what we're going to be using as a programmer. So based upon a user's selection of the combo box, okay, we'll say, okay, you selected Niels, let's say, as a student. But then my primary key from the database is what we want to know. So I don't have a Niels in here, so let's just say as a student I have Jones. The programmer wants that primary key because then we can go search, store, do all kinds of things with that primary key. We can make it a foreign key in another table based upon an insert, or we can use it as a means of more querying and so on. Does that make sense? So the users never see the value member, but we as programmers need it to do our work behind the scenes. All right. Hope that makes sense a little bit. Let's get back to here. Okay. And then again, the data source should be whatever was loaded from the result set. Based upon how this works, I should have had this thing going. Here we go. As you can see, it loaded the last names of the students. If you kind of look right here, here's my database: Jones, Smith, Hernandez, and Kim. It loaded them into the combo box. Amazing, right? Amazing. But that's how that works. So now you got a dynamic combo box. Pretty cool. All right. Usually, based upon what you're doing, you might not just have one combo box. You might have multiple combo boxes that you're loading at one time. If that's the case, all you really need to do is just copy the code that we just had there and load the next combo box, okay? And so, here we go here. I already had this code here. I'm just going to go through it and undo this. There you go. Okay, cool. And so in this case here, I'm going to load a instructors combo box also, okay? And the reason it's screaming at me is because so what I need to do here is if I have two combo boxes I want to load at the same time, and you will have those on occasion, I need to create a brand new data table. So I'm going to have something totally separate here. So I'm going to have a students one, and I'll have an instructors one. Do you see that? So I have two data tables. In this case here, for the most part, what I did was copied and pasted this right here down to this. Everything else is pretty much the same, okay? Let me get rid of that. I think it's having a hard time with those three ones there, okay? And so what it's going to do is select the instructor, load it into the instructor's data table, and we're going to put it into the combo box. So I will go over here very quickly and add another combo box. There you go. And we will have, let me go name that real fast, CBO instructors. And I believe I named everything correctly. CB, yep, there it is. They were all gone. And we start this one more time. And now what I did is I loaded two combo boxes under the same event. So if you have more than one, there you go. There's Jones, there's all of those, and then here's all the teachers, Niels, Gartlett, and Smith, all from the database right here. See that? So we now loaded these up. Again, this is kind of an introduction. We're going to play around with these, and we'll get into a little bit more details on what we can do with them in the future, especially when we get to inserts and so on. But hopefully you kind of get an idea of how to load a combo box now. For the most part, you can take this code that's attached to this video and copy and paste it to your code for your assignments to try to get these to work and basically use from here on out. All right?